Ultraviolence is quite the challenging difficulty in Doom Eternal, as I recently discovered when Mustard and myself were invited to London to capture the latest build of Doom Eternal. I want to extend a huge thank you to the Bethesda UK team, and we appreciate their gesture. I figured for this video I would do something a little bit different to my previous Eternal video, which was just kind of the purest action. It's no stranger, I suppose, from the previous video I made that we captured this footage on the ultra-violence difficulty setting. Now, that is kind of seen to be quite challenging. It's by no stretch the hardest, but for this video, I want to discuss the challenge that comes from Doom Eternal. This is literally just a 1v1 with the Cacodemon, by the way. Granted, yes, it is the earlier stages of the game, so I don't have a lot of equipment, I don't have many upgrades, and I certainly don't have many weapons, but I just got totally 1v1'd by a demon that we're not normally very afraid of. And right here you can see the more dangerous terrain that exists in Doom Eternal from previous titles as well. This purple stuff on the floor, you can't jump and you can't dash. Your movement is horrendously restricted, which introduces, new layers of challenge, and that's what I want to go into for this video, is to explain that the combat system is totally different to what we're familiar with. It mostly comes down to options that have been given to the player. Right here I make a completely rookie error, and I got too hungry for the forbidden fruit. I just wanted to go and get the glory kill on the two little sort of zombie demons back there, and I didn't even realize there was a Cacodemon. The Cacodemon in this game feels a little bit more dangerous compared to previous titles. Like, it's still very tanky, but it charges you now. I feel like the Bile Blast is a lot faster as well, so punished me there and then some. But sometimes with the dangerous terrain can come secrets. We have to go right, so I think, well, what if I just go left and use my dash to go through? Bam, there's a secret, and that secret will give us some upgrades to our armor or health or whatever it might be, plus some passive buffs that exist. But when it comes to difficulty and Doom Eternal, I really feel like, I know it's early days, but it feels like the id Software team have just nailed how to make challenge rewarding, even in failure. Fundamentally, there are so many things about the game's combat that now the player has so much more options. And that's just one of the layers that exists. As you can see right now, I'm fighting an empowered demon. The empowered demon is something that has killed a player in a previous playthrough or a current playthrough that's unrelated to you. But if it's killed a player in a different playthrough, then that demon joins your playthrough and you get extra bonuses, and it's much harder to take down. And on these harder difficulties, the empowered demon becomes a real thorn in the side, but with it comes a lot of reward if you can actually finally get the kill. But I was talking about how challenge is there, and it feels rewarding even if you don't quite make it, or you die, or you lose a life, whatever it may be, because it feels like the choices that the player now has, because the flame belcher gives the player armor. If you set up a demon on fire, it gradually loses armor, and if you kill that demon, a lot of armor will drop. You can still glory kill for health. You can still chainsaw for ammo. None of that has changed. It just comes down to extra options. But I think with that has come extra difficulty, where this game, there are certain points where it's hard. It's definitely difficult, and by no means did I go undefeated throughout the entire capture session. There was a lot of stuff that you kind of just have to learn, and the game does not pull its punches. If there is a difficult section, this is an early part of the game, but it doesn't stop the game from being, in for lack of a better term, completely balls to the wall. But I like that, the sort of classic FPS player in me, that I really relish those harder difficulties. Even though I'd never played Doom Eternal really before this, I had tried it a little bit at QuakeCon, but I'd never done a proper sit-down session like we recently captured in London. And I went straight into ultraviolence because I just wanted to see how the game feels, compared to 2016. 2016 was my bread and butter. I played it so much, and the single-player experience was so enjoyable. But I was like, well, how can they take 2016 and really make Eternal just feel like this crazy new experience? And honestly, it's just options and choice. Some of the new additions right here, demon weak points. The first thing that happens when a new demon is encountered, the game does tell you what you should be doing. And that is, in part, some of the extra elements of Doom Eternal that I've really enjoyed so far anyway, is there's a lot of challenge and there is a lot of rules that a player has to follow. You do need to play by the game's rules. If a demon has a weak point, you have to take out that weak point. You have to make sure you're constantly juggling those 3 important resources in armor, health, and ammo. And if you don't play by those rules, the game will completely destroy you. Right here, I put in so much resources just to take down 1 Mancubus that I didn't even pay attention to the fact that there was another one up top. And that was a really, I think a recurring theme. Now, unlike my pure gameplay video, I wanted to include the moment of this fight where I actually died. Because you can see, it looks at first like I'm actually doing extremely well. And dying actually appears quite suddenly. That is something that really stuck out to me in this game, is you feel like you're doing well, but if you take your foot off the gas for a split second, especially in these arena moments, there's no time to stop and lick your wounds. You have to pay constant attention. You have to treat every demon with the utmost respect, especially when they become, a little bit higher tier, like the Whiplash or the Mancubus or the Cacodemon. I'm not used to fearing a Cacodemon, but I was completely caking my pants every time I saw a Cacodemon in this game, because they're extremely tanky. And like I said earlier, it feels like they're a bit more dangerous. Here comes that empowered demon again. I believe it was the Arachnotron in this fight. The Revenant was super manageable, but does a lot of damage, so you have to watch out for Revenants. Now, from this point, I feel super surrounded. And you have to look at my resources. I'm crazy low on ammo. I mean really, really, really low on ammo. But there's not a lot of small demons that I can chainsaw. The Hell Knight from out of nowhere, the Whiplash. I can't chainsaw any of these to get some ammo back. And I'm having to try and juggle the escape. I'm kind of screwed here, but with this difficulty, I've got no extra lives left, by the way. That's one really important thing to mention. I completely just go down, because that was my first time taking on the arena. This was my next attempt. You're more familiar with, right, there's a Mancubus at the very beginning, weak points, take out the weak points. Now I don't have to worry so much about that Mancubus anymore. I got a rocket launcher on this level. Worth mentioning that the level previous, you don't actually have a rocket launcher, so this was a new weapon. Did a little bit of self-damage, though, which is always not so good. But my point is, it's all about memorization. I need armor, so I'm going to flame belch that demon, blow him up quickly with the rocket launcher, and then bam, there's a huge amount of armor. We haven't demonstrated this, but we've taken a couple of upgrades over the course of this mini playthrough that we captured in London. One of the upgrades we took was the Magnet upgrade. Anyone that's played Doom's multiplayer or single player in 2016 will know how important Magnet was, pulling in those pickups. Now, from this point, I remember that even though the Arachnotron is there, at this point, a lot of the dangerous demons will spawn at this time. So this is just about remembering what went wrong last time, and now what do I have to watch out for. So I'm trying to be extra careful here. And, the plasma rifle is just an extra part of that. There's the Hell Knight, right on cue. And now we're going to try and create as much space as possible, using a bit more of the terrain, because obviously you can destroy those kind of, bombs and explosives that exist on the top. And what I'm really trying to constantly push here is, even though this is a single-player experience, and you are fully aware that you are just against AI demons, this isn't the invasion mode or anything like that, there's something that still feels crazy competitive about this experience. And I think it is purely just the challenge of what it is that you're doing. And I don't think I'd get this experience quite the same if I was recording this or playing this on one of the slightly easier difficulties. I think it would still be really fun, don't get me wrong, but there was just something about this capture session that the harder difficulty made this unlike anything else I'd played before. No matter how many times I'd played Doom, I truly think it was the fact that you can go into it with a little bit of a different mind. It is the options that the game has given you. Right now, I'm just mostly focusing on just trying to stay alive. There are certainly things in the fight that I'm not using. By all means, we only had about an hour or so to record the footage. So there are certain things I'm not really using too much. I wasn't using a lot of the grenades, for example. There are ice grenades. I picked up an ice grenade on this level, and the extra grenades that you can pick actually do have separate cooldowns. So if you're micromanaging everything really well, the grenades are a huge important tool. But admittedly, I didn't use them a huge amount, especially the ice grenade, that's for sure. But on the terms of micromanaging, the challenge really came from, for me, just how much things you have to remember. The game did a really good job of every time there was a new mechanic about to be introduced or a new piece of equipment that you had access to, it did a great job of actually teaching that to you. But at the same time, even as someone who played a ton of Doom 2016, the extra stuff that you can now do is actually, it's quite a lot to remember. So, it's quite tricky on the hands after a while. I think if I were to play this game again, especially when it comes out on launch, definitely going to rebind some of my keys so they feel a little bit closer together. I think the team did the best thing they could, really, with just trying to make it so your hand wasn't too cramped, because there's a lot of buttons you kind of need to press. But at the same time, I'm a player that likes having a lot of my buttons quite close to the WSAD, so I think when the game comes out, I'll certainly rebind some of those keys so they're not so spread out from my hands. It doesn't feel as alien having to, reach over and touch them. This moment was quite interesting. It's trying to teach you about the demons that have explosives on them, and you simply just knock them into other demons, kind of like a weapon in itself. You can see them there with the flames coming off them. People that played Doom 2016 will instantly remember those kind of zombie-style demons, but it was actually quite hard. It kept dropping demons on me at crazy close proximity. But once again, it's all about just trying to make sure you're managing all of your equipment, right? If you run out of ammo down here, it was miserable. I think in this fight, and then bam, there's a Mancubus from out of nowhere. Thank God I didn't pick up the health beforehand. And yeah, at this stage, I'm just trying to remember how many rockets it takes to kill the Mancubus. I think it was 4. It was 3 or 4. But it was at least 3 to be in a good position to finish it off, that's for sure. But the combat is kind of, as I mentioned before, all about just making sure that you're not making any mistakes. And the mistakes are what punished you so hard. You feel like you're doing well, and then, microseconds later, here comes some demon that you just didn't plan for, and then you get completely destroyed. This was another one of those moments that I died in, and again, it was not really remembering where the demon spawned from. I died right at the end of that fight, and this was one of my personal favorite moments. I was not ready for this, and I didn't think it would happen. I thought it would be exclusive to battle mode, but this is the moment where you get to play as a demon. I do not know if there are other parts in the game where you get to play as the other demons, but considering the Revenant is my favorite demon of all time, this was quite the nice little surprise. You're trying to get your super shotgun back, you see. You're trying to reclaim what's yours, and we have to quickly become the Revenant real quick. Now, I gotta say, immediate apologies to Revenant fans everywhere. This was near the later part of the recording session. I only had a few minutes left before we all kind of finished up, and I was only really paying attention to the stuff that was immediately in front of my face. So the prompts for the attacks on the left-hand side that you can see here, I wasn't looking at them. This was essentially my Doom 2016 multiplayer muscle memory taking over. So I did not use the rocket barrage in this entire fight. The rocket barrage is simply just you pepper down many rockets rather than just, a couple at a time. Now, I gotta say, I have a lot to say about the Revenant in this fight. The Revenant feels like a completely beefed up version of the Revenant from Doom 2016. Anyone that played the multiplayer, playing as the demon and getting the demon rune was a huge part of that. I have a lot to say about the Doom's multiplayer, but certainly now is not the time for that. But anyone that really played it and rinsed it, the Revenant wasn't particularly popular. It was not a demon that a lot of people fondly remember, purely because, the Harvester, one of the DLC demons, was kind of competitively seen as kind of like a better version of the Revenant. They both had air mobility. The Harvester was a bit quicker, more immediate beam stuff. But if I'm playing like the Doom Eternal Revenant, which I am right now, you just have, you've got the dash, which didn't exist before. The jetpack kind of feels the same, but it's just a bit more intuitive thanks to the right click. But the rocket speed, that's one of the real big changes, is the rockets go so much faster in Doom Eternal than they did in 2016, where the Revenant, it feels like a lot more of an accuracy-based character. It still fires projectiles, as you can see here, but with the missiles being a little bit faster than they used to be, you can get a little bit more of those kind of reactionary shots, catching other demons in midair. It did make this portion extremely easy. I kind of completely ignored what difficulty I was on at this point because the Revenant was just so crazy overpowered versus the AI demons. But this one portion, it's just made me really excited for battle mode. Like, I have to admit, I'm really looking forward, because the Revenant's the demon I'm going to play in multiplayer first. Now, I plan on learning all of them, but this one little portion here just had me extremely excited. But that said, I think that's going to be pretty much the end of this block. This is the last clip I'm going to be using. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you very much to id Software and Bethesda for Doom Eternal coming out very, very soon. I appreciated the content recording session. and I really enjoyed my time. I am excited for what's coming, and hopefully you enjoyed the gameplay that came with it. Thanks for watching. Love you as always. And if you liked what you see, make sure you stick a subscribe and stick around for the future content to come. Take care.